Hey guys, what's going on? It's Calamity here to bring you another episode of the Anything Goes podcast. Today we actually have a lot to talk about. We are going to actually start off with NFL. There's not a whole lot of sports news to go over, but there's a lot of esports news just because we've had a super week for Call of Duty. Um, and there's a whole lot to talk about with movies and TV and WandaVision because I forgot to talk about WandaVision last week, which is a big mistake on my part. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to start with the NFL like we usually do. We're going to go through the sports, esports, film and TV, and then WandaVision, which I guess you can include in films and TV, but that's really made for like announcements about stuff. So yeah, we'll go right with the NFL. First bit of news came out today, actually. Russell Wilson requested trade to to one of a few teams, the Dolphins, Jets, Saints, or Raiders, which I find very surprising. I know he's kind of not really enjoyed the last few years in Seattle because he's had no protection. He's had help on offense with players and stuff, but he's got no protection. Defense has gotten better. I don't really know what his motivation is, but I think it's to win more Super Bowls, but I don't really see how he can't do that with Seattle. I mean, all they really need, in my opinion, is an offensive line. But then again, he put the Dolphins and Jets on there. Don't think you're going to win a Super Bowl with either one of those teams. I could be wrong, but so yeah, that was kind of surprising. Free agent J.J. Watt has multiple offers from teams. Some of the teams believed to be in on J.J. Watt are the Browns, Steelers, Bills, and Titans. Steelers would make sense because of his brother is on the Steelers. Actually, it's both his brothers on the Steelers. I know one for sure. So that would be kind of cool to play with his brother. I know that. I think that's going to play kind of a factor into his decision. The Browns, Myles Garrett and J.J. Watt on that defensive line would be pretty scary. Titans could use him definitely on the defensive line. I'm kind of mad the Patriots aren't on that list, but then again, they could be interested in him. And there's also another thing I wanted to talk about with the. I'm sure a lot of people saw it. There's a video going around of Cam Newton, a high school player, at I think it's like a camp. It was, I don't know if it was, it was obviously tackle football and everything, but I don't know if I think they said it was 7-on-7s or something. I don't really know what the camp was, but either way, the kid, so there's actually two videos released. One was right before the main video was released, and it was of the kid pretty much heckling Cam Newton, while Cam Newton is like, he's obviously like a director of the camp, I guess, and he also coaches in it, I believe. And this kid was just like, Cam Newton was like a good distance away from him, and the kid was like, "You're ass, you're a free agent, you're ass, you're a free agent." Just kept saying it over and over and over and over again. And Cam Newton just kept saying, "I'm rich, I'm rich. Who cares? I'm rich, I'm rich." Like, just kept saying that. Which, granted, I don't think he should have said that. He should have just kind of ignored the kid. But then the second video came out where it was Cam Newton approaching the kid and literally just asking him questions, like just having a conversation with him, doing nothing wrong, which I fully support Cam Newton in doing. And the kid just wasn't being straight with him, wasn't giving him a straight answer, wasn't really giving Cam Newton the time of day, pretty much. Kid kept saying he was ass, and then Cam Newton asked him, he goes, "What's your team's record?" And I think he said 2-1 or 2-3. I think it was 2-3. And Cam Newton kind of like laughed because obviously if it's 2-3, it's not very good, and 2-1, I mean, it's still very early in the season. And then Cam Newton just goes, he didn't really laugh, he just kind of did like a smirk, and then, which again, there's still nothing wrong with that. This kid's heckling you, in my opinion. And then Cam Newton asked him, he goes, okay, well, what did you do for, like, what did you do to contribute towards your team? And the kid, I couldn't hear what the kid was saying, but he kept, like, not giving him an answer, because Cam Newton was like, I'm asking you a serious question. Like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything. I'm just trying to see what your motivation is and, like, what you're doing. Like, why are you doing the things that you're doing right now? And, like, honestly, I was just talking to him. And then another coach stepped in and, you know, kind of came up and shook hands with Cam Newton and was like, everyone back in the locker rooms, like, just getting the kid away from Cam Newton. Cam Newton was like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything, but he's, you know, talking to me and whatever. I thought it was an interesting video to watch. If I'm that kid, I'm very disappointed and embarrassed in myself. He did issue an apology, but it was a very standard apology. I mean, I know the kid's not, he doesn't have a PR person or anything because he's in high school, but, you know, he just said he let his competitiveness get the best of him and whatever. Just a typical, you know, apology response. And I don't know, I didn't really view it that well. I mean, I definitely respect Cam Newton for trying to be mature and an adult about it. At least in the second video. The first video, you know, saying I'm rich, doesn't really help your case very much. But I think he did okay. I think that was okay. I just wanted to talk about that because I know people have mixed feelings about it. Most athletes came out and supported Cam Newton and said it's very annoying when a kid that should be asking you questions on how you got to the league and getting advice from you is heckling you about stuff that is really, I don't want to say out of his control, because Cam Newton definitely could have a contract right now and be on a team if he played well last season. But at the same time, he's right. He is rich for a reason because he plays in the NFL. So, I mean, and a lot of quarterbacks are saying they're free agents right now. I mean, honestly. So I just thought that was interesting. And then we go to baseball now. Spring training has started. Pitchers and catchers reported last week. So there's not a whole lot of news, but there's three pieces of news I wanted to talk about. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. lost a significant amount of weight compared to last season, and he said he feels quicker and stronger, so that's kind of terrifying if you're in the Blue Jays division. Definitely not something I wanted to hear, being a Red Sox fan, but I like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. a lot, and I think the Blue Jays are going to be really good this year. We also have Jose Abreu test positive for COVID, so he'll be out for at least a few weeks, I would think. I don't really know what guidelines MLB has right now for COVID. I'm assuming they have to quarantine for 2 weeks and then they come back, whatever. And the last piece of news is Shohei Ohtani hits 97 miles per hour during a live batting practice, which is very impressive, seeing how he's coming off surgery from late last year, I believe. So that's good for him. It's going to be interesting to see if they have him batting at all. I don't think they were going to have him do that this year. So him hitting 97 is a good sign. Hopefully he still has his control and everything. Hopefully the velocity stays around the same as 97. I mean, if he hits 97 every now and then, that's perfectly fine. As long as he stays, you know, like 95-ish around there. Not too big of a drop-off from the rest of his fastballs. He should be pretty good. He should be back to, you know, peak form like he was. Now we go to the NBA. Devin Booker replaced I almost said AD for, I mean, AD is what his name is, but Anthony Davis. He replaces Anthony Davis in the All-Star game because Anthony Davis is suffering from a calf injury. And then just some storylines. We got Chicago, Miami, Charlotte, Boston, and New York Knicks tied for 6th in the East at 15 and 17. Now, my Celtics are very disappointing right now. They blew a pretty good lead the other night. Then they lost by about 20 or 30 last night against teams they should be beating, man. I don't get it. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know. I mean, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are still doing amazing, and they're both all-stars. So they're not starting, but they're both all-stars. So I don't know what they're doing there. Chicago's kind of a surprise. Miami, I knew was going to be in the mix just because they were, in the finals last year. And then we got Charlotte, which is kind of surprising, but not really, because they got Terry Rozier, they got Gordon Hayward, they got LaMelo Ball, who's doing amazing, who's probably going to get Rookie of the Year, honestly. And so they're, sixth. Yeah, they're probably right where they need to be. I know they're tied for sixth, so it's really like tied for fourth or whatever. But and then the Knicks, I don't know. I'm a fan of the Knicks, so I've always been like up on the Knicks compared to what most people have been. But I think they're probably right where they need to be too. So it's really Boston who's disappointing, and Chicago. Well, Boston and Miami, I guess, disappointing because I figured Miami would be a little bit higher, maybe like third or fourth seed. And then Chicago is kind of the surprise team out of that. And New York and Charlotte, yeah, are about where they are. And then we have in the West, we have the Lakers. They've lost a handful of games in a row now. They have played multiple overtime games, which could lead to LeBron James getting tired down the stretch, and they probably don't need him to get tired if they're struggling right now. I'm hoping that he doesn't really play a whole lot of minutes in the All-Star game. And well, I don't want to say I'm hoping because I don't really like the Lakers and I don't like LeBron, but if they want a shot at winning a championship again, they're going to need him rested up for the playoffs and for the later part of the season, so that way they can kind of make that playoff push towards the end. And if he's playing overtime and he's playing a bunch of minutes every game, just to try and get them to win a game, it's going to cost them down in the long run. We all saw Jimmy Butler at the end of last year in the finals willing that team through the playoffs and then just couldn't find enough energy in himself and the team to try and get anything going. So that'll be interesting. I know Jimmy Butler and LeBron James are on different levels, kind of, but actually, no, not kind of. Yeah, they're on different levels. But still. And then we have Utah, who's still freaking just chugging along, man. 26-6. They just cannot be stopped right now. I don't even know their 6 losses, to be completely honest. And their thing is, if you're a fan of Utah, which I don't mind Utah at all, I actually kind of like some of their players, but you have to hope that your slump is not going to come at the later part of the season, because every team's going to hit a slump. And like right now, I think the Celtics are kind of in a slump, which they are. Maybe they make a trade before the trade deadline and get a fire sparked underneath them and get rolling again. But one thing you definitely don't want to do in basketball is peak too early. Now, I know a lot of college teams do that, and that's why they don't do well in March Madness, but it happens in the NBA too. If you peak too early, like the Jazz are doing right now, well, I don't want to say they're doing right now, but because they can continue. You can continue this throughout the season, obviously. Like you can do that, but it's just a lot harder to do that over the length of a season. And you literally have to hope that you're not doing this now in order to have a slump later on. Because if you have a slump later on, it's going to hurt you. Like right now, they're first in the West by quite a few games, I think. I think it's like 8 games or something, which is good. But if they hit a skid second part of the season, right before playoffs, they could be in the 3rd seed and they're not playing on their home court anymore. So, and with fans starting to come back to some arenas, that could be a problem. There's a couple surprises in the West as well, where we have San Antonio at 16-12. I know they got Popovich, but I didn't expect them to be up there in playoff contention right now. I know it's still early, but still. Golden State with losing Klay Thompson, they're 8th in the West right now, which I know is kind of down, but being that they only have Curry and Green right now, they're 8th in the West at 18-15. They're 3 games ahead of the Mavericks in 9th. So they're looking pretty good. Steph Curry has definitely powered that team right now. but it's good that they're in 8th because you like to see them in the playoffs. I'd like to see the Mavs in the playoffs too. So if there's any way that they both can make it, I'm all for it. But the Mavs are struggling right now, and Luka Doncic is doing everything he can to try and get that team to win, and it's just not working, unfortunately. So that takes care of NBA, NFL, MLB right there. Now we go to Esports, where we have Call of Duty, which is the only one that I really want to talk about because that's really the only one that I follow. So I didn't talk about it when they first came in, like when they first started the regular season, which I should have. I didn't do that. But the standings going into this week's like mega week, because last week got postponed to this week because of weather in Texas, where most of the teams are. The standings were the LA Thieves and Atlanta FaZe were tied in first at 2-0. Tied for third, you had a lot of teams. You had Toronto, the Toronto Ultra, Dallas Empire, Optic Chicago, Minnesota Rocker, Los Angeles Guerrillas, and Seattle Surge all tied at 1-1. And then you had the rest of the teams all tied for 9th. Were London Royal Ravens, Florida Mutineers, New York Subliners, and Paris Legion at 0-1 or 0-2. So those were the standings going into this week. Monday you had the Mutineers beat the Guerrillas 3-1. And then right after that you had Atlanta beat Ultra 3-1. So you had 2 3-1s that day. I'm trying to think if there was anything really that important to talk about. I mean, Mutineers, they're a good team. 3-1. I mean, Guerrillas are a good team too, and so are the Ultra, but those kind of went the way that I would predict they'd go, along with a lot of people. Then you had Tuesday, you had the Legion 3-0 sweep the Mutineers, which is a big surprise. Legion came out freaking crazy, which is good for them. We'll see if they can continue it. I think they play today, I think. So we'll see. But that 3-0 sweep on the Mutineers was definitely a big step in the right direction there. Then you have the Subliners who came back from losing. They lost big time week 1, I believe. And they came back and 3-0 swept London, so that's a good sign for them that they're going in the right direction. And then you got the Rocker 3-0ing the Surge. So you got 3 3-0s on Tuesday. And Seattle looked like they struggled, honestly. That was kind of disappointing, but I mean, Mutineers struggled, London struggled. I mean, all these teams struggled pretty much, except for the ones that won. But Seattle and Mutineers are definitely better than that. London, they've had their problems this year. I don't see them really bouncing back. They may win a couple games here. Like they'll win matches. Obviously, they're not going to go defeated. But I don't expect a whole lot though out of that team, unfortunately. And then you have yesterday we had 3 games again. Empire, they beat London 3-2. Got kind of scary for the Empire there. They were coming off a loss. They needed to kind of perform well, and they performed pretty well. Not up to their standards, I think, but they still won the match 3-2, which is good. And then you have the Thieves, who are staying hot. They beat the Surge 3-2, unfortunately for the Surge. Then you have Optic beating Ultra, which the big one out of week 1 was Optic versus FaZe, where FaZe beat Optic, and it really came down to the Search and Destroys. And that's not Optic's strong suit. But they took care of business against Ultra and won 3-1. So, yeah, those are the Call of Duty Pro team records and stats. Now we go on to the big part. We go to film and TV. So, according to MCU Fanatics on Twitter, Agent Carter is reportedly returning to present-day MCU. Now, I only watched Agent Carter at the start of probably last April, I think, because I started to do a rewatch of everything Marvel in order. TV shows, movies, everything. And I'm still not done yet. There's been some weeks where I took off where I didn't watch anything, but it's been a long time. I've loved doing it though. I love Marvel, so watching all their stuff was definitely cool, and watching some stuff I had never seen before, like Agent Carter, was cool. There was one I just watched. Oh man, The Runaways. There we go. Runaways was pretty good, I thought. Anyways, there were some bad ones though. Like Inhumans was horrible. They had some good actors, but the writing wasn't very good in my opinion, and neither was some of the acting, or most of the acting. But all in all, the Marvel rewatch has been amazing. We last saw Agent Carter. I mean, technically, we last saw her in Civil War. No, not Civil War. Winter Soldier, I think, because she passed away technically. But the younger Agent Carter, we had Peggy, we hadn't seen since Agent Carter, really, or no, Endgame technically, because she was in that. But so that'll be interesting. So she's reportedly returning to present day MCU. I don't know how that's going to work, but according to MCU fanatics on Twitter, that's what it's supposed to be. Then we have John Krasinski came out and said he would love to be Mr. Fantastic for the MCU. Holy crap, I can't talk. And that if he's being considered for the role, he would like to continue to be considered because he would love to do it. And most Marvel fans are behind him on that. And it's what I thought was weird is that everyone's trying to think of who the cameo is going to be in WandaVision. And some people speculated that it was going to be Mr. Fantastic. I was kind of thinking that, but then at the same time I wasn't. I was thinking more. I'm still thinking it's going to be like Doctor Strange or Captain Marvel. Those are my two guesses. But everyone's trying to guess who it's going to be. A lot of people are saying Mr. Fantastic because he's a aerospace engineer, and supposedly that's what the cameo is going to be in WandaVision. And with everyone speculating that, he comes out and says this now. I don't know. I just find it a little. It's either a little trolly or they're kind of hiding that it's going to happen. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I hope he does get the part. I just hope that's not the cameo in WandaVision because, I don't know. I guess I don't hope that it's not him, but I want to be right, so I want it to be Doctor Strange or Captain Marvel. Anyway, so there was that, which I would think he'd be a great Mr. Fantastic, as long as, or not as long, but as well as other people think that too. A lot of other people. Then we have Edgar Wright is directing Stephen King's The Running Man, a futuristic film that follows a man who joins a game show where contestants are chased by hunters trying to kill them. Sounds interesting. It definitely sounds like a Stephen King movie. Filming for Obi-Wan series begins this spring. Ewan McGregor has started training already for his reprising of his role as Obi-Wan. Marvel started meeting with writers for Fantastic Four, so that's a little weird that news came out too. Sony is developing a Twisted Metal series with the Deadpool writers, which sounds amazing because I love Twisted Metal as a game, and having the Deadpool writers makes a whole lot of sense for that. Loki is releasing June 11th. The Loki series will be on Disney+. Star Wars' TV show The Bad Batch will release May 4th. Yes, there's probably a pun there. Spider-Man 3 is going to be called Spider-Man No Way Home after multiple teasings of the new title. There was Phone Home, which was kind of funny. A lot of people did, ET stuff with that. I forget the other one was that someone else released, but obviously those aren't it. It is No Way Home, and it will be released December 17th. Most likely in theaters. I would think by then we'd be okay to go into theaters. We got Monsters at Work will premiere July 2nd on Disney+. That will be the animated, I think it's a series, animated series of monsters and characters, which will be kind of cool. She-Hulk will start filming in a few weeks, and Moon Knight will follow that. Nickelodeon is launching Avatar Studios with multiple animated series and movies. And the first trailer for Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead was released like 20 minutes before I went live. So I did watch it. It looks interesting. I'm not really into those kind of movies, but it's supposed to be some sort of apocalyptic zombie heist thing. I don't really know. I want to say Batista's in it from Guardians of the Galaxy. I think I saw, it didn't specifically show him, but I'm pretty sure I saw him in it. But the trailer didn't really show him. It doesn't look bad, like in term, God, I can't talk. In terms of like CGI or special effects. It didn't look bad in that way, which is always a good step, because sometimes those movies like that can look horrible. But I think it looked okay. There wasn't really a whole lot of dialogue in the trailer, so I can't really judge the writing of it. But it's definitely an interesting concept, especially it's supposed to be like a heist movie, so I don't really know how that's going to work. Yeah. So now we're going to talk about WandaVision, the last two episodes, episodes 6 and 7. So if you haven't seen those, which you should have at least seen 6 by now, stop listening right now. Turn this off. Do whatever you got to do. Yeah, we're gonna just talk about it right now. So, episode 6 was the Halloween episode where Vision and Wanda both dressed up. Vision is kind of having his doubts about where he is. He still has no memories of anything that happened before he woke up in Wanda's reality, which he doesn't know what it is yet. But he starts questioning Agnes, their neighbor, because she's just stopped at a stop sign, and he's like, "Where are you going? Like, what's going on?" And he takes some time away from his family, who's like trick-or-treating and everything. Pietro's kind of dressed up, but not really dressed up. They said his hairdo that he had in that episode was kind of like a nod towards Wolverine, because it definitely looked like Wolverine's hairdo. But and then Wanda keeps having these like visions where, well, I don't know if they're visions, but kind of flashbacks, I guess. But like seeing, so like she saw Vision like dead in front of her, and that kind of like freaked her out because it reminded her of when Thanos killed him. And then she was sitting down with Pietro, and he had bullet holes in him and like whited out eyes and everything, like he was dead. And then he just like snapped back and he was fine, which I thought was weird. But then Wanda gets mad at him and like calls him an imposter and like shoots him with like her, whatever you want to call them, her powers. And that's kind of the last you see of him, at least for this episode. So what happens after that, I don't really know. And then Vision escapes, and as he's dying, he says people need help because he's escaping. He finds out that it's some sort of barrier. He goes through the barrier. He sees all the guards and everything, and Darcy's there, and Jimmy Woo's there, and Monica's there. And he's coming out. He's crawling on the ground, saying that they need to help people in there. But he's dying because he's dead in real life. So he's going back to his dead self. And Wanda's son, I forget if it's Billy or Tommy. One of them, they both come up to her, but one of them says, "I'm hearing Dad. He needs help." And she's like, "Where is he at?" And he says, "I don't know where he is. I can hear him." And so she literally just expands the barrier on her reality and kind of sucks Vision back in, so he's fine. And then in the process, Darcy is kind of brought in to that, along with a bunch of soldiers who then turn into circus people. So that is kind of interesting. And that's pretty much where that episode ends. It was definitely an interesting episode. And then it goes right into episode 7, where Vision comes back and he's with Darcy, and he ends up getting Darcy's like memory back, because at first she's just like one of the circus people chained up. He gets her vision back. Episode 7 was uh, had nods to Modern Family and The Office. A lot more to Modern Family, I think, because it had the documentary thing where she's in her house, where Wanda's in her house, and she's kind of being the Claire of Modern Family. And the intro was from The Office. I knew that instantly because I love The Office. I love Modern Family too, so I got all these. And then it seems as if, so Vision, when he gets Darcy's like memory back, they take a truck and they're trying to get to Wanda and Vision's house to get back to the town, and it just seems like Wanda's preventing him from getting back. There's a bunch of red lights, there's stuff crossing that shouldn't be crossing this road, like kids and construction work that just randomly appears right as they're about to go. So then Vision just says, he kind of like looks at the camera after he says something about, you know, her trying to stop him, gives a look to camera, which one breaks the fourth wall, which you don't see a lot of stuff do, and 2 is a nod to Jim from The Office, and then he just gets tired of waiting, so he just gets up and flies. I was like, you could have just done that the whole time, man. Like, what's wrong? But then Wanda has Agnes watch her kids while she tries to go look for Vision, and then she comes back to get her kids and can't find them. But Agnes is there, and she's in the kitchen like doing something. And Wanda starts looking around, looking for the kids. She's like, oh, they might be in the basement. She goes down in the basement, and she finds this weird... Sorry, in my notes, I put strange in quotation marks, which if you saw the episode, you'll know why I did that. The strange book in Agnes's basement, and her sons are nowhere to be found. And Agnes comes down, and she says, did you think you were the only magical girl in town? And she like waves her hand, and you see like this purple, looks kind of like a flame in her hand, and it looks like what Wanda does with her powers. And she like shuts the door, and she says her name is Agatha Harkness, and she's been like, to me, I took it as, the first time I watched it, I just saw her like, so she brought in Pietro, which is Evan Peters' Pietro from X-Men. She brought him in to there after she infiltrated there and didn't fall under Wanda's spell. She also put all the neighbors underneath some sort of weird spell. So I don't know if it's Wanda that's put everyone under a spell or if it's been Agnes. So that was kind of interesting to me. But that strange book in the basement could be, or is rumored to be, one of the books from Doctor Strange, where he goes and gets the book that tells him about the Infinity Time Stone. I forget, they're called something, I forget what they're called specifically, but I think that's what that is. So that's even more reason for me to believe that Doctor Strange is going to be the cameo, because he's going to be the only one that can understand what's in that book and what it can do and how to reverse anything that it's done. So that was interesting. And then there was a mid-credit scene. Actually, before I even get to the mid-credit scene, there's also a little scuffle between Monica and Wanda, which is why Agnes takes the kids. Because Monica re-enters the new reality, and after being told not to, and she seems to get some sort of like superpowers, because Wanda like knocks her, like tries to take her out again, and Monica just like comes down to the ground and does that superhero landing that everyone does, and her eyes are like glowing blue and everything. So she appears to have superpowers, which I think she did get some in the comics, so I guess that kind of tracks with that. But then, to get to the mid-credit scene now, it shows Monica going up to Agnes's house and going in through the bulkhead of the house. She opens it up and she sees all the purple glowing stuff, and she's like, oh my god, what is that? And right as she's about to enter the house, someone's behind her, and she turns around, and it's Pietro, like Evan Peters' Pietro, and what does he say? Snooper's gonna snoop or something like that, and then the episode just ends. and it goes back to the credits. You're just like, fuck, man, I wanted more of that. So it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. That episode was the longest one yet at 47 minutes. The next two, I believe, are going to be, they got to be close to an hour long, probably about 47 minutes again. I would think episode 9 would be the longest one, probably like an hour, but I don't know. Nothing's been confirmed yet. Also, Marvel has said that some of the Disney Plus shows will have more than one season, but they don't believe that WandaVision is going to have a second season. Or at least I don't think it's going to have a second season. So that'll be interesting. So I think, again, I think it's going to be Doctor Strange. I'm like kind of more believing that. I'm believing that more and more every episode. And this past one, with being a book from Doctor Strange and all the magical powers that's going on, I think he's the only logical choice to be that cameo that everyone's talking about. And I think the actor who plays Vision, Paul Bettany, because he said something about the cameo is a person he's wanted to work with his whole life and whatever. I think his two icons that he wanted to work, that he's referring to, is Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. I don't think it's going to be either one of them. I think that was just kind of like a, I don't want to say a smoke screen, but I think he was kind of making that up. Or not kind of, I think he was making that up. I think those are people that he wants to work with, yes, but I also think that introducing a new character would be weird. I don't know what new character that they would reveal that would have any significance towards WandaVision. I could be way wrong because I haven't read the comics or a whole lot of them, so I don't really know. I don't know all of the characters, obviously, and obviously it's hard to know all the characters, but I don't see that happening. I think it's gonna. I think I'm like 99% sure it's gonna be Doctor Strange. The 1% of me that doesn't believe it's gonna be Doctor Strange, I think it's gonna be Captain Marvel, because I think somehow Monica's gonna get in trouble, and she's the only one that she knows that can help her get out of trouble. Is Captain Marvel. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know what you guys are thinking, but that's what I'm thinking. That's going to do it for this episode of Anything Goes podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for next week where I will have another video. And stay tuned on Twitter for more content on here when I'll be streaming again, which I don't know when that is because my Elgato is still broken. So, and I don't really have the money to buy another one. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys hopefully next week. Bye.